George Lynch. How you doing?
How you doing?
Now, where are you coming from? You live in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
One of my
the whole
favorite
band
states.
lives in Arizona.
And you just coming from there now, or?
Actually, I came from Sausalito. I'm working on a project there.
Anything you want to talk about, or?
Well, it's a solo thing that we're probably going to release sometime next year.
Right on. Now, a little bit about the Lynch Mob. I know you've gone through like some changes. I mean, because you used to play with Dawkins, then you broke free from Dawkins to do the Lynch Mob, and now to make another change, you've made some changes in your new Lynch Mob lineup.
Right. Well, when we came out with the first Lynch Mob record, it was a real departure from the Dawkins thing, the formula that Dawkins had established in the '80s, and a lot of people were disappointed with it. And actually, I was in some respects.
With the Lynch Mob record?
Yeah, in some respects, I was also. But I think we really had to make a very clean, distinct departure from what we've been doing in Dawkins. And we did that. We accomplished that. And I think this new album is as different from our last record as our last record was from Dawkins.
Mm-hmm.
I think we reverted in some sense back to the original formula of commercial, but with a very hard edge.
So what is your kind of formula? I mean, where do you think the music, I mean, obviously, especially in the song Tangled in the Web, it's got, to me, like I've said on the ball before, it's got a real 70s kind of, almost Janis Joplin-y feel. You know,
well, it's definitely an R&B.
And
you know, like you said, yeah, it has real horns in it. It's definitely very R&B. But there's no it doesn't really relate to the rest of the record. I mean, there's things on the rest of the record that you wouldn't even think it's the same.
I want to talk about the rest of the record, and also we're going to play the video from the Lynch Mob, Tangled in a Web, when the ball continues, so please stick around, won't you? Lynch Mob, and might also point out that George Lynch was a member of Janie Lane's softball team, the team that my team beat last Sunday.
You should tell them the story about that, too.
Story as we won.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to talk about.
Last inning, 2 outs, 2 men on, we're behind 1.
We decided to make the game a 7-inning game.
2 strikes, and I flew out. Because you kept heckling me.
As I should.
Wouldn't leave me alone.
Let's talk a little bit about the record rather than talk about my team beating his. You got a new singer in the band. How did you get this new guy? He's got a great voice.
Robert Mason.
Great voice.
He tracked us down. He says, listen, man, I got to be the singer in your band. He knew he was right for the group. Flew himself out.
Where's he from?
He's from New York. And so now we got 2 East Coasters and 2 West Coasters in the band, which makes a nice balance. But he's very much the opposite of our last singer. He's very dedicated, has a lot of confidence in his abilities, and can definitely take control of an audience. One
thing I want to mention, because I'm here playing in the background right now, you did Tie Your Mother Down, which is a classic Queen song. Did you kind of do that after the fact of Freddie Mercury passing away? Or?
That was definitely done posthumously. And I'm a little embarrassed about having the song out at this point, because it's almost like we're capitalizing on the event.
But everybody listened to Queen, I mean.
Yeah, but I don't want anybody to think that, wow, Freddie died, let's do that song, and it'll be big.
You did it because you dig Queen.
Yeah, and actually it wasn't my favorite song to do. We picked it by consensus, along with our producer, Keith Olsen, who thought it was very commercially viable, had hook value. I'm more into the more obscure Queen stuff. I wanted to do Tenement Funster, or I'm in Love with My Car, the songs that Taylor sang. But then what's the point of doing a cover, you know, if it's so obscure? So.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the album. I want to talk a little bit about the live show. But right now we're going to be playing the video from you guys, which is the latest from the Lynch Mob. And why don't you go ahead and intro it?
All right, it's Tangled in the Web.
That was Tangled in a Web from the Lynch Mob, and we're here with George Lynch. And one thing that I want to mention, the first time I heard the song, something that really stood out was that it's got real horns. Because I hate sometimes you hear songs from a band that they put these little horns in, and you can kind of tell that it's like synthesized on computer or whatever. And I mean, that's some, I like the horns.
We originally had synth horns on there just to see if it worked. And, you know, I mean, I don't know the difference. And this was our producer's thing, Keith Olsen. He insisted on bringing in real horns. He says, no, when you hear real horns, you know, there's life to it.
Oh, you can tell.
And so I went in the studio and watched him do that, and I've never been in the studio and watched him do horn arrangements before. It was pretty hair-raising, because these guys were so cool and so capable.
Now,
they just wanted to blow over the whole track, you know. We give them these 3 note parts to do. And
now, who wrote that song?
Well, that song was written like most of our songs. I come up with all the music, and then we all sit down and collaborate on the lyrics.
So is it pretty
and
wild
melodies.
to hear the song that you wrote just being added, made this much huger with real horns and stuff like that?
It took a way different direction than the way I envisioned it. When I had written the song, it was a lot slower, more like a big Van Halen majestic groove thing, no horns or anything like that. And we brought Glenn Hughes in to help with some of the vocals, the melodies, and so that got a little more R&B. And it kept getting a little bit more commercial with Keith's touch to it. And I like it, but it's totally different than what I envisioned it. So
Now, you mentioned before that the album, I mean, other than having Tie Your Mother Down and Tangled in a Web, it's got a lot of different kind of directions into it, like some real heavy stuff and some lighter stuff. And
well, you know, real heavy it's a subjective term. I mean,
right, everybody
heavy
uses,
for me.
everybody uses that word out. It's heavy.
I mean, when I was 17, 18, and in bands with you know, friends of mine, we thought we were heavy metal, and that wasn't heavy metal
Right.
by today's standards. But it was probably more progressive. You know, songs were 17 minutes long. You never go back to the same change or chord progression. It's kind of an exercise in memory, you know. But yeah, there is stuff that's different. You know, you know, in retrospect, when people look back at our records, I want them to show some kind of a growth, and that's what we intended to do. With
Tell
this
us
record.
tell us
The next
about-
record won't be like this record.
Tell us about tour plans right now.
Well, it looks like we're going out with Kiss in August, which we're very excited about. You know, they're not a band you can really compete with. You know, they're just Kiss is they're an institution. You know,
Right.
So like Aerosmith, but it's a great opportunity for us to be going out with them.
Yeah, so looking forward to getting out on the road.
Oh yeah.
I know all you Lynch Mob fans will be looking forward to seeing George and the rest of the guys. And thanks a lot for stopping by,
Okay.
and good luck with everything.
All right.